Previously on the Top 100.
He was the first guy to tackle with the face mask.
He was an extremely intellectual linebacker, which I don't think was the association with him, probably because he was toothless.
Emmitt Smith has eclipsed Walter Payton as the NFL's all-time rushing leader.
Merlin was not only a complete ball player, he was a pretty complete human being.
He's my favorite football player of all time, and I grew up in Miami watching him every Sunday.
John was the kind of guy that he wanted to take your nose off. He just wanted to destroy it. That's how he played the game.
Inside the 10, head first, he flies inside the 5-yard line.
He had that kind of beauty. I loved watching him run. It's poetry.
When I think of a winner, champion, and you mention his name.
And the Patriots are Super Bowl champions!
And now, the countdown continues.
The first game of his life was a microcosm of his career. Kowski got his ankle ripped off, and Mike Holmgren said to me, "Steve, get Brett ready." I went, "Oh, geez." I'm thinking, he's not ready, he's not ready, he's not ready. And Brett made some goofy rookie mistakes like you would expect. Like, what is he doing? I don't know. How would I know what he's doing? And then somehow, some way, he makes some plays at the end.
There's a man, he's wide open, touchdown! It is caught, and the Packers have tied the game! These fans are going crazy. I mean, this thing is supposed to be over with.
We had to send him back out to hold for Chris Jackie to win the game by one, and his hands came off the ball, and poof, we win the game. That was Brett. He drove you crazy. He made great plays. There was a little luck involved. The place was wild. Nobody knew at the time that that was going to be a sign of what's to come. But that's what he's been doing for 19 years.
Third down, 12 seconds to go in the game. Niners lead by 4. Barr back to pass. He gets away from the pressure. Fires to the end zone. Touchdown! Oh my heavens! Brett Favre has given the Minnesota Vikings an improbable victory!
Upon his retirement, Brett Favre will own every significant NFL passing record. He won 3 consecutive league MVP awards. Some men are driven to be great. Some just enjoy the ride.
I always said to my kids, and my kids are this big growing up around him, watch him play the game. Watch how Brett plays sports. What do you mean? Well, when he throws a touchdown, he goes and jumps on the guys, and he's celebrating, and he has fun. And that's the way sport is supposed to be played. It's not always serious stuff, even in pro football. He's having a ball, even at practice. That's what you ought to be like.
Hey, you got any left-handed footballs?
Put her in the old vice!
You think God never farted?
If you play tight, it makes you lose focus and forget things. And if you just play loose like you do in the backyard, that's what got you there. And so it was like, okay, he's joking around, and maybe this is a serious time, but that's his way of playing the game. They knew I was prepared as well as I could be. To me, that's the only way to play it. If you're not prepared, you're not going to joke around.
If you're coaching, what you want on your team, really, are characters with great character. Capiche? Now, if that character can be a producer and a leader as well, now you've got something special.
What is that? Comeback number 15
The league's going to miss him. Not just his teams, not just the Packers when he's gone or the Vikings when he retires at some point. The league is going to miss him. People want to see this guy play.
I got to see this. This Favre out here. Brett Favre.
People want to see the smile on his face. People want to see how tough he was. He's not going to be on clinic films where you teach a guy this is technically sound.
He flipped it into the end zone backhand. Brett Favre is something else.
He's going to be on the ones that show how the game, it's a game, keep that in mind, how the game should be played.
Bronco dragged the NFL out of the back alleys and into the American consciousness because he was so big. He was an enormous man. I mean, his forearms looked like a lot of people's thighs. He was 6'3" and he was 235 pounds, and he was playing fullback. And back then, the defensive guys weren't that big. You know, they were 200 to 220. Bronco ran the football like he was boiling over with rage. He was one of the greatest big running backs in the history.
On offense, defense, and special teams, Bronco Nagurski punished everyone in his path. End zone to end zone, sideline to sideline. Not only did Nagurski excel at multiple positions, he was a champion in multiple sports.
These guys are making $3,000 or $4,000 a year. It's the Depression. So Bronco went out and he got himself into wrestling. Because in football, attendance wasn't that great back then. Wrestling was. And everybody wanted to see him because he had so much notoriety. And in 1937, he actually retired to go full-time into wrestling.
Just as he had the NFL, Bronco overwhelmed the wrestling world, owning the title belt in 1937, 39, and 41. By 1943, World War II had depleted Chicago's roster, forcing the Bears to try and re-enlist Nagurski.
Well, George Halas was at war, and he sent a telegram, signed Bronco Nagurski. But they knew the guy hadn't played in 6 years. They knew his legs were dead. They knew he had gained some weight, so they put him at tackle. And he was very, very effective in 1943 as a tackle.
As the football season went on, the Army kept drafting, football players. They came to the point where they drafted all our fullbacks so that the Bears were out of fullbacks. And we were getting at the end of the season, and we had a chance for the title. Some of my teammates, they suggested to move me back, that I could still cut the buck at fullback.
So in the final regular season game of 1943, Bronco was tapped to lug the leather for the first time in 6 years.
The Bears were down 24-14 going into the fourth quarter. Bronco is an old man. He came off the bench and led the Bears to 2 touchdowns to get them into the championship game.
The Bears went on to win the 1943 title, the third of Bronco's career. 20 years later, Nagurski was selected as a charter member of the Pro Football Hall of Fame in what he called the most thrilling moment of his life.
You have to remember him as a guy who brought a lot of attention to the NFL, who won 3 championships, who came back after 6 years. Think about that. Nobody today could come back after 6 years and lead his team to a championship. And I think that's the real value of Bronco Nagurski.
Game was close. Crowd is screaming. McNair drops back. Throw the ball to Eddie George. I break on it and it bounces off his hands into mine. I take it away from him, and all you can hear was complete silence. And I think I would never, ever in my life forget that moment.
We have a special relationship, and I'm grateful for it and thankful for it.
Get in here, we got to go fast now.
We're going to brutalize him. We grew up together. I wouldn't be sitting here today talking about it if it wasn't for him.
He won't make that one.
He was the AFC Defensive Player of the Week his first game. So obviously a good start. And all he did is keep getting better from that point on.
They ready to be ready for some football tonight.
There's just time and time again where he ran guys down and made plays that you didn't think was possible.
Ray Lewis caused the fumble and recovered the fumble. What a great play chasing him down.
No wasted movements, body position, leverage, the explosion of a cobra.
What determines who's better or not is the heart. Am I just trying to get there to make a play? Or am I trying to get there to break your will? When Lawrence Taylor came to hit you, he came with everything. When Dick Butkus came to hit you, he might poke you in the eye, he might do whatever to you. Same way I play.
You can't hurt this. I'm a machine, jerk.
In 2000, Ray Lewis was the MVP of Super Bowl 35. He was twice named NFL Defensive Player of the Year. Since they drafted him in 1996, Lewis has been the undisputed heart and soul of the Ravens.
Nice job, man. Nice job. Play your heart out, as usual. I'm glad you're here, man.
Listen to me. This team cannot move the ball on us. It is time for us to set this tone. This is what makes champions. Right here. If we're trying to be great, this is where it starts. Do everybody got me? Yeah. Do everybody got me? Yeah.
Rolls the deep back, gets the hand off the backfield. The Ravens stop him. Ray Lewis comes up the middle, and it's all over. The 10-time Pro Bowler makes the play when the Ravens needed to shut the door.
I think you have to look at the measure of the man over the period of time and have to understand what he has meant and how he's empowered everybody around him to be a better person.
And Ray's been terrific, you know. A lot of people, he really is professional. Yes. I mean, he'll market other players. He never says a word.
Very respectful guy.
Yeah.
You know, and got the heart of a lion. He really does.
Oh, man.
My name in this game has to go down as the greatest ever. I'm not linebacker. I'm talking about one of the greatest players to ever play this game.
For me, Barry is the best running back of all time. I got to give him my number one. But I'm not alone. Most people, when we start arguing about this, when you say Barry Sanders' name, they say, "Yeah, man, we got to give it to Barry."
Each of Barry Sanders' 10 seasons was a masterpiece. He rushed for at least 1,100 yards every year he played, and 6 times was a first-team All-Pro. Barry's career average of 100 rushing yards per game is second all-time, only to Jim Brown's 104. But statistics aren't how fans remember Sanders. Like any great artist, Barry's style defined his craft.
In the arts, greatness means that you're able to develop your skills to raise our human beings' level of consciousness and our horizon of aspiration to a higher level. We say, wow, we didn't know that could be done. Now you start talking about somebody like Barry. Whew, he has almost a Zen approach to it. Things you had never seen, that umph, that thing you can't describe. It's an eloquence that's just...
I try to perfect the skill of trying to make people miss.
In a lot of plays where I'm doing something impulsive, I had to turn off the brain in certain ways and just, react.
It's metaphysical, and that's where you are the thing. And when you become that thing, you don't have to think. Because it has transcended the figuring out things. It's transcended the I am doing this to just what we call the isness. You are here in this moment, and you are the living embodiment of that thing in action. When you don't think, you're on a higher level than if you think, because the thought takes you away from the thing. And in music, it's the same way, because if you're thinking and you're playing something, the second you stop playing what you're playing to think about what you're playing, you automatically are one step removed from the thing itself. Now we look at Barry as the ultimate improviser. He's able to master his relationship to all those things in the context of time. There's no time, man. How much time you got between when the ball is snapped and somebody is tearing your head off? That's what makes him most like a jazz musician. And we're not getting hit physically like that. We're getting slapped with chord changes. But you run out of time. You can't play a note and say, let me get that note back. So it's like that. If Barry passes up one hole and he sees another gap and he goes the wrong way, he's gonna pay for it. But boy, when he hits pay dirt, he's just a virtuoso.
For every thrill Sanders gave the audience, his most breathtaking move came when he walked off the stage, retiring at age 30, less than 1,500 yards short of the NFL's all-time rushing record.
As significant as it was, I feel like you have to play it for the love of it and for the sheer thrill of competition. Once that leaves, and I think it's time to leave.
Barry is like an unbelievable artist, like Charlie Parker. He play a line, nobody can play something like that. That kind of type of Henri Matisse, just something in his brush, you don't know what it is. It stupefies you. That's Barry Sanders, man.
I grew up right outside of Cleveland, and I was a Cleveland Brown fan. And I got out of high school in 47. The Browns started in 46. So all through my college career at John Carroll, I was a Browns fan. Otto Graham was my idol.
To watch Otto Graham was to watch a winner. Automatic Otto was the Browns' quarterback for 10 seasons. During that period, Cleveland played in 10 consecutive title games. Graham led his team to 4 All-American Conference and 3 NFL championships.
I was drafted by the Browns in 51 and had the opportunity to go and play with the Browns. So I got to be on the same team as Otto Graham. I remember the first day out at practice, I was the first guy out there naturally, and then Otto comes out with a bag of balls, takes the ball out of the bag, he says, "Warm me up, will you, kid?" And I'm catching a ball from Otto Graham and throwing it back to him. And, I was just dazed by the whole deal. 51 was my rookie season, and we lost the first game, but then we won 11 in a row, and And Otto was the catalyst. He made the plays to help us win all those games.
The Browns will be counting heavily on the capable right arm of Otto Graham.
Otto Graham, for 9 seasons, the spark plug of the Cleveland team.
Otto was a guy that had great athletic ability. He was a running back at Northwestern. Paul Brown made him into a quarterback. You know, when the pass broke down and he didn't have anybody open, he could always take off and run with it and be a great runner with the ball. And then along with that, you know, was just a prolific passer, a guy that was uncanny as far as his accuracy throwing the ball. Just had such great ability, you know. He just was very relaxed with the way that he handled the great ability that he had.
Otto Graham and George Radaman pitch horseshoes.
My personality was such that I think I was always kind of cool under pressure. But I've always said that you have to have the confidence that you will do good, but at the same time, inside you have to have the fear that you might fail. Before we played every game, I could never digest the pregame meal. I would get a couple oranges, apples, or something like this, but the food itself, I couldn't eat until the game. I was just too nervous. My stomach was turning over and over and over.
Otto's attempts at acting were also hard to digest. He might have been nervous before a game, but he was even more ill at ease before a camera.
I guess we're about the worst team that you've ever had.
No, you're wrong, Otto. You gave your best out there today. You and all the boys. It's just the day you met a better team, they deserve to win. Defeats and setbacks are all a part of growing up. Sometimes we learn more from a defeat than we do from a victory. Now, you listen to me, young man. Adversity not only tests one's character, but it also strengthens it. And don't you forget that.
Otto certainly has to be one of the best of all time. All you got to do is look at his accomplishments. I mean, you go and look at Otto's record, and all he ever did was win championships. And how else do you judge a quarterback? Every season that he lined up, the Browns were in a championship game. It's hard to pick anybody any better.
Before the countdown continues, here's a look back at players 20 to 16. Number 20, Brett Favre. Number 19, Bronco Nagurski. Number 18, Ray Lewis. Number 17, Barry Sanders. Number 16, Otto Graham. And now, number 15,
we would have a home movie night in our house, and invariably, you know, it would turn into Ram highlight film. And my dad would have the remote, and he would break down footage on Deacon. And we would see Deacon in slow motion, reverse. Look at how this guy goes after the quarterback. Look at how he goes around this guy. And he wasn't just teaching us about football, he's teaching us about life and how you push through something and how you don't give up.
Number 75, Deacon Jones, is a Rams All-Pro. His stock and trade is quickness, and his goal is the quarterback's head.
In 14 NFL seasons, David Deacon Jones played for the Rams, Chargers, and Redskins. A 5-time first-team All-Pro, Jones's most effective pass rushing maneuver was the head slap.
He had studied Muhammad Ali, boxing, and the speed of his hands. And he realized that if he could slap somebody upside the head, they would blink their eye, and all he needed was that split second of a blink of the eye to get around him to get to the quarterback. I think because he was so unknown when he came into the league, 14th round pick, and because it was actually during the civil rights period, he really felt that he had to come out of being this invisible person and become a personality on the field. And Deacon really brought a personality to that position, and he did coin the word sack.
Sacking the cornerback is just like you devastate a city or you cream a multitude of people. I mean, it's just like you put all the offensive players in one bag and I just take a baseball bat and beat on the bag.
Deacon grew up in the segregated South in Florida, so all his life it was about people pushing him aside. When he came to the Rams in '61, he had never even sat beside a white person in the cafeteria. And he said that my father was the first white man who had ever entrusted him in a leadership position, period. And instead of trying to control him and say, well, Deacon, I'd like you to play like this, my dad just said, just go. Just be yourself. From then on, nobody tried to rein him in. You can't rein in Deacon Jones. Deacon was really, and still is, a part of our family. We knew him as a football player, but as a man, he was also an emotional guide in a way for us.
As a member of the Allen family, Deacon let Jennifer know how he felt when she named her firstborn son after former Rams quarterback Roman Gabriel.
He was livid. He couldn't believe it. He said, you obviously didn't understand what your father was about. Your father was all about defense. You obviously don't understand what I'm about. So he was joking, but obviously a little perturbed. So it sort of planted the idea, I think, that, if we'd have another, we'd have to name him Deacon. So we named our second one Deacon. His initials are DJ, like Deacon Jones. Deacon! Go, Deaky! My dad used to say Deacon played with sheer abandon, and he expected you to live your life the same way. When you see someone playing all out who they were, their personality and their soul and their spirit, there's no denying that that will never be forgotten. And there's no mimicking it, because there's only one Deacon.
Football has many superstars, but only one Superman, Deacon Jones.
My dad would talk about some of the great players of his era. My dad only played in the league 1 year in 41, but he had great respect for him and what he meant to the game. He spoke very highly of Sammy Baugh, both as a person and as a football player.
Sammy Baugh always belonged to the young, like a larger-than-life hero who stepped out of a Saturday matinee.
That man killed my father, Ranger Tom King, while he's working on a sabotage case.
Sabotage?
On the silver screen, Sling and Sammy saved the day by land, by sea, and by air. He was a triple threat on the football field, too.
Sammy Baugh would be a combination of today's version of Tom Brady, Brian Moorman, and Ed Reed, three all-star players at their positions all rolled into one. Sammy was a league-leading passer, a league-leading punter, and a league-leading interceptor. So to have all those guys on your fantasy football team with just having one player, that would really be that would be hitting the trifecta.
When you're on the field, you got to feel like you're the best son of a bitch that's out there.
As a quarterback, Baugh was just that. In the 30s and 40s, he took the forward pass, traditionally a last resort, and made it the weapon of choice for his Washington Redskins.
I think the thing that really stood out about Baugh was his deep passing accuracy. The ball was fatter, it was thicker, and not as easy to grip as it is today. And he had a tremendous ability to throw the ball down the field, a lot of times on the run, or avoiding pressure as he was stepping into the throw, and put it right on the money. Defensively, just watching him play free safety, the range that he showed back there, when the ball was in the air, he covered ground in a hurry. He ran well, tall, had long arms, and really had great range. He played the ball very well. As a punter, he was just so far ahead of everybody else. There still hasn't been a player that's averaged, what he's averaged punting the ball in one season.
In 1940, Baugh averaged 51.4 yards per punt, one of many records he still holds today. Baugh led the league in passing 6 times, a feat matched only by Steve Young. In 1943, he led the league in passing, punting, and interceptions, thanks in part to a game for the ages.
Unquestionably, one of Ball's most memorable games will be against Detroit, where he had 4 interceptions and 4 touchdowns in the same game. It's like hitting the cycle 4 times in baseball, I think. It's just unheard of in today's game.
Baugh won 2 NFL championships and was unanimously elected a first-ballot charter member of the Hall of Fame, an honor only he and George Halas received. In 1952, like any good movie cowboy, Baugh rode into the sunset.
I'm a country boy, and I like the country. If I want to walk out in the yard and take a leak, I'll walk out in the yard and take a leak.
Wasn't really a high-profile guy by nature, even though his football status brought him into that celebrity. That wasn't really what he was in it for. He was in it to play football and to win and to have fun doing it and to be with his family and be in his roots in Texas. Sammy Baugh, no question about it. He was a special player.
Well, Joe Green's the greatest talent who ever played in Pittsburgh. You remember Joe Green. He's first because he should be. I don't know, you're probably too young. That team before Joe Green just did this, where you're over the center, and you just said, I'm going to go here. I'm going to knock your head off. The whole thing changed right there. It is a primal game. It is a violent game. It's a collision sport. You can have the playbook, the size of a Charlie Sheen prenup. At the end of the day, you want to rock people. You've got to make them afraid of you. And they didn't want any piece of him, man. Tens of thousands of men have played, and they all play with one goal in mind, to win a Super Bowl ring. He's in with 4. That's what greatness is about. The guys who won't settle for the bread. They want the mother lode. They want immortality. And that's what Green gave them. It all changed. I remember, I said, what? North Texas State? What? Who? I saw some footage of him in college. I don't even remember him being that big. But man, he looks like Othello. He's got to be the man. Floodgates open right there. We started teeing off on people instead of having them tee off on us. Joe Green's the most important player in the history of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because up until the moment he existed, it didn't exist before. We were no longer the jokes. And if you wanted to call us a joke, you could, but he's going to bloody your nose repetitively.
Joe Green broke through to nail Staubach and caused a fumble.
On the field, he was Mean Joe. But in real life, he never lived up to his nickname.
Hey, Joe, what's that red arm here?
That's a little kid game in San Diego. Said it's going to take us to the Super Bowl. I got a word, he say that.
One iconic Coca-Cola commercial showed the world that Mean Joe was really a teddy bear.
Prior to that commercial, I was Mean Joe. I was the unapproachable guy. And that really softened the image. And it was really, really special to have people speak to you, not wanting anything, just to say hello to you.
I like Joe Green for one reason and one reason alone. That kid he gave the shirt to was 20 years older, and in between him and the Lombardi Trophy, he would have flattened him.
Forrest Gregg was the head coach of the Bengals when this draft took place. He went out and worked him out. Forrest Gregg lines up at defensive end. Forrest says, now this is what I want you to do, and this is the handwork, and the pro set, Hood. And Forrest takes one step, and Anthony shoves him right to the ground. And Forrest said, we're going to draft this kid as number 1. When Anthony Munoz was drafted, the newspapers said, this kid's only played 16 college football games. He can't stay healthy. What the hell are we doing drafting this kid?
Anthony Munoz quickly put to rest all concerns about his durability. In his 13 seasons, he missed only 3 games due to injury.
When he first showed up in Cincinnati, he looked like an extra in a Ben-Hur movie. Hair down to here, curly, real dark, mustache. Kind of heard the East LA look. I don't know, to show those stinking badges. One of those guys, you know. And I wish I'd been there the first time that Paul Brown had seen him.
Munoz was a 9-time All-Pro and was named to the 1980s All-Decade team.
Once he starts inside, you can start trying to finish the block.
The offensive line coach of the Bengals, Jim McNally, let Anthony, I think, come up with his own stance.
I don't think you need a coach. Huh?
He had kind of a wide stance with the foot way back, but he was athlete enough at his size that he could recover for anybody coming down the inside. He was perfect, absolutely perfect in the way he set up. He gave defensive ends no place to go. Man, he devastated defensive ends in this league. I mean, he put them on the ground, he put them off the line of scrimmage, he protected the quarter, everything. He's the first big guy that I've ever come across that ran distances to stay in condition at 6'5", 275 or 280. He'd run 10, 12 miles 2 or 3 times a week. Big guys didn't do that.
Munoz's athleticism proved a vital and versatile asset to Sam Wyche's up-tempo, no-huddle offense.
The worst thing about playing Anthony Munoz on any given Sunday is you're going to be out there against him for 40 or 50 plays. Well, with this new offense, now you're going to be out there against Anthony Munoz for 80 plays. He's going to beat your ass 80 times, not 40 times. They'd line him up at tight end and, 78 eligible. And he'd fake the down block and Boomer Esiason would find him in the end zone a lot.
Lob pass off in the corner of the end zone. There's a touchdown, Anthony Munoz.
It was fun, especially the first one. Sam Wyche's rookie year with the rookie quarterback, Boomer Esiason. I wasn't crazy about the situation.
The Bengals with a chance to tie it here with 7 seconds left to go.
It was 1st and goal. We had to score to take it in overtime, and I was basically the primary receiver, so it was either catch the football or walk home from Cleveland.
Boomer throws into the end zone to Anthony Munoz, touchdown.
In 1998, Munoz became the first Bengals player to be enshrined in the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
He was so consistently proficient for his entire career. The day he retired, I didn't see any difference in the way he played offensive tackle, which is extraordinary. I mean, he was still just stuffing people at the line of scrimmage or driving them down. The number 1 draft choice that the Cincinnati Bengals had ever made was Anthony Munoz. The best choice to this point in their history, ever.
Before the countdown continues, here's a look back at players 20 to 12. Number 20, Brett Favre. Number 19, Bronco Nagurski. Number 18, Ray Lewis.
They ready to be ready for some football tonight.
Number 17, Barry Sanders.
Barry again off the right side, breaks one tackle to the 40, fights free. He's on his way. Unbelievable.
Number 16, Otto Graham. Number 15, Deacon Jones. Number 14, Sammy Baugh. Number 13, Joe Green. Number 12, Anthony Munoz. And now, number 11.
He is the one player that has more influence on me than anybody I've ever met. And he's truly a blessing in my life. Guys, I'm talking about Ronnie Lott.
my roommate, and obviously I always, in a sense, feel like I was probably the luckiest guy alive to be roomed with him.
In another way, Marcus Allen was also the unluckiest man alive. Recruited by USC as a defensive back, he went from lining up next to Ronnie Lott to lining up across from him in practice.
He took out his ambition and aspirations, of being one of the greatest ever that played a game, on me.
Lott made Swiss Army knives jealous of his versatility. He made 10 Pro Bowls by mastering both corner positions, in addition to free and strong safety.
You look at all the interceptions that he's got, he always saw the ball. He was a destroyer. I think he realized that, to really play this game at the level and to be recognized as one of the best ever, you have to have a little bit of craze inside you.
When you go play the game of football, it's a violent game. Can you be psychotic and yet under control? Can you be neurotic and yet under control?
He wanted to hurt you. He wanted to hurt your family that was listening. He wanted the entire family to be upset and worried. I mean, that's just the way he played. He would sacrifice his body.
I think it was Timmy Newsome. I was trying to tackle him. Unfortunately, his helmet kind of smashed my finger against my shoulder pads. I had to go see the doctor so he could repair it. He says, well, look, one of your bones is missing in the finger. I chose to get the finger amputated so I could play.
How many of us would cut off the tip of our finger in order to continue playing the season? I think he would be the only one that would do it.
So you're saying you wouldn't?
Oh, absolutely not.
In 10 seasons with the 49ers, Lott won 8 division titles. He left his mark for 4 Super Bowl winners. Naturally, it was a welt.
Everybody sold out this week. Everybody. Damn, it's great, isn't it? You gotta love it.
He is a legend of the game, not just a guy who played. He's what the game is all about. Ronnie is the heart and soul of the National Football League. People should remember his name 150 years from now.
On the final episode of the Top 100.
He is certainly among that highest echelon to ever play this game.
He thought on Sundays that he was a god, that nobody was better, and he proved it.
I try to tell my sons that. He didn't just wake up and just, oh, I'm good. No, he works to be.